Welcome to the podcast. Today I'm speaking with Katini. She is a singer and pop artist. Her mission is to be the global voice of positive millennial empowerment. Please welcome Katini. Thank you so much, Katini, for joining me today on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Well, I always start the conversation off with a question. What do you believe?
I believe that music is the universal language and it has the power to change the world and bring positivity and peace into all of our lives.
Oh, that's beautiful. So tell us, your music is so inspiring and
Oh, thank you.
you're such a beautiful singer. You have a voice of an angel. How did you begin your career in music?
So I, like, good question. Well, I've always loved music. I first fell in love with music actually when I go to Japan for the summer to visit my grandpa and grandma, and he was a huge jazz lover and had this amazing jazz collection. So I'd go there and listen to like Nina Simone and Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald and all of the greats, and really fell in love with um, jazz was my first love. So I really fell in love with soulful music and music that was that was born in the African American community and came from America, and it was also new to me. So I developed a love that way. But throughout primary school and high school, I was super shy. Nobody knew that I sung or even like liked music. Um, and then, but I always knew from a very young age that I was born to be a singer. I was born to be an artist. I want to be, a voice of positive empowerment for people. So
Amazing.
I graduated school and I was enrolled to go study political science, which I did for a very short time. And I said to my mom, if I can make my music career happen, I'm going to go and do that. Like, I don't, my dad was a diplomat, so was in the political world, but so I decided to choose political science. And I thought, I want to be able to change the world in a positive way. I can either do that, through politics, or I can do that through music, which I believed was my calling. So I actually, within like 2 weeks, within the first month of graduating, I was signed to a major label in Japan, which at the time was the second biggest music industry in the world. And decided like, yep, that's my calling. That's what the universe wants me to do. And I'm going to do that. And I haven't stopped since. So
Incredible.
yeah.
So your background is fascinating. So you have a father that is from Ghana, a mother who's Japanese, and you grew up in Australia.
Yes.
Do you see a common denominator between these beautiful melange of countries and cultures? I mean, it's incredible. Tell us about your experience.
I feel like they're all so different that it's been really interesting and eye-opening to have lived in all of these countries. And both of my parents are such global people, and my mom has always like had a global view on the world, and my dad also through his work. So as a kid, I would travel a lot to different countries, whether it was in Europe or to Africa. Like my parents they met in Japan. Wow. They got married in India. And then we moved to Africa for a bit. We were back in Japan. So it's just been this constant move around different countries just because of my father's work and my parents' passion to keep us super cultured and aware of what's happening in the world. That it was like, as a kid, I'm like, I saw the world as one. Like, we're all people. It's not like that person is over there and I'm over here and there's a barrier between us. It was like we're all human beings and we're all here to make this work together.
Yeah.
So that was the way that I was brought up. And when I moved to Australia, it was another beautiful experience in itself. Like, we moved to this beach town where everybody was like some blonde surfer kids, and I think we were like the only mixed kids in like the whole district. But I
Wow.
don't think, and not once did I ever feel that I was disadvantaged or that I'm different, I don't have the same opportunities or anything like that. And I think
Mm.
it's really thanks to my mom for always, she was like, the fact that your mix is your superpower. And I think hearing that as a kid is everything, because the information that you're fed and the support that you're given really helps you shine. And I think for me, as an artist, I want to be able to remind people, like, we're all one. Like, we're all people on this planet, really here to live together. And society often puts us in a box or encourages us to think of ourselves as one clean cut thing or another, but it actually separates us from really celebrating the uniqueness that we all have. So I would like to be able to represent, to people, to embrace what you have, and that's beautiful, and that's what makes you you and shine.
What a gorgeous message. I love it. I'm wondering, because there's so much going on in the world right now, and
Mm,
and through your music, because
mhm.
I know your music, I'm aware of your music. How much has it
Yeah.
inspired you to sing how you're feeling? I mean, what are the
Yeah.
messages through your music that you want to convey?
I think it's always about being able to lift someone's vibrations up when they've heard my music or come to see my show. And it really, music has the power to heal people. So most definitely, like, I think about when I sing something, whether I've written it or whether it's been another incredible songwriter that has written it for me,
Mm.
if I don't connect to it, then I won't sing it, because I just don't believe in singing something that doesn't resonate with me, because how is that supposed to translate to others?
Sometimes people
Mm,
just don't know how to get in touch with their feelings. That's why I was curious
yeah.
when you said it, when it doesn't resonate, what that feels like.
Mm, mm. Like, it's funny, sometimes I can't even describe what it feels like in words. It's just like, it's the gut feeling of when you're,
Yeah,
for example, in a place that you're not supposed to be in, and you get those like weird vibes. I think it's similar to that, where it's like, this isn't resonating with me, like, toss, or like, it's not for me, somebody else will love it, and it's just not. Yeah, right.
exactly, exactly. Well, that brings me to the next question, which is,
Mm,
I'm just wondering, in terms of a practice, like a spiritual practice, how
yeah,
have you been able to get through this really difficult time? Do you have a spiritual practice? Can you share with us? Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
So both of my parents, so they raised my sisters and I in a household where um, meditation was like a huge part of our daily practice. So I think from the age 5, um, I was introduced to a monk who taught me how to meditate, and it's been a huge part of my life since then. So it's been twice a day for me. I'll sit between, around 30 minutes twice a day, and it really helps center me and brings me down. And I think um, cleanses me mentally, physically, spiritually, and
Mm.
all of these things, to be able to block out the negativity and hold on to what I believe is right for me and others, and walk on that path. So yeah, it's been so helpful. And I think, I mean, one of the reasons why we actually moved to Australia was because of this one primary school um, that was in this town called Mullaney, where I'm from. Um, and they had yoga and meditation as a part of the school curriculum. So every day
Yeah.
you had to do yoga. And these are kids from, like, from preschool. I don't know if preschool, if that
Yep.
translates over
Yeah.
here. Yep, from
Preschool.
preschool until grade 7. So before high school, you had to do meditation after lunch every day. There was like this quiet reflection time. And you could only bring like vegetarian lunches to school. And for me, I've been raised a vegetarian. So I
Wow.
think for my parents, they were like, we want our kids to go there. um and at the time, I'm just like, it's kind of like really hippie and alternative, like coming from Tokyo, like neon metropolis city Tokyo,
Yeah.
to the middle of, kind of like the middle of the rainforest, this cute little primary school. I was thinking, like, what a weird move. Like, why did we move over here?
Right.
But as an adult, like, I'm so appreciative of that time, and how it was able to have a huge impact on me, with being able to practice it every day and just have it as second nature
Amazing.
and a part of who I am.
Wow. I love that. And you are such a Zen person. I mean, you give off
Oh,
such good vibes, and you're just such a
oh, so
just a
sweet.
soulful, calm human. I love it.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
curious, who was the most influential person for you in your life? And I say this as
Mm,
someone who you may know, or just someone who maybe who you admired, who maybe has passed on, or is there
yeah.
one person that really influenced you in your life and in your music?
Yeah, like I think I mean there's two different people, one for life and one for music. And I think for life it would have to actually be my dad. So he passed away when I was 5 years old, but he was this revolutionary man that really did everything that he could to help the children of Africa and to unite the country and do as much positivity to be able to bring justice and peace to the world.
Mm.
So for me, although he had nothing, he was like tone deaf. He had nothing to do with music. His um his passion and his way of life has been such an impact in me, and I think that's what's driven me to be able to do that through music in whatever capacity that is. If it's just bringing happiness to people that listen to my music, that's enough for me.
Right.
So he would be like in general my life sort of role model. And in music, I mean, I grew up listening to like such amazing artists, but I think it would have to be Ella Fitzgerald, who was,
Mm.
she's no longer with us, but like a legendary jazz vocalist whose voice is like honey gold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who made me fall in love with music back when I was like 8 years old, listening to her records in the countryside in Japan. So
Incredible.
yeah.
What was it like growing up in Japan?
Oh, well, it was funny because I mean, so I was born there. I was there until I was 7. Japanese was my first language. So I didn't learn to speak English properly until I was like 7.5, 8. So yeah. So it was, I mean, I love Japan. We went to an international school when we were living in Japan. So I was constantly surrounded by different cultures.
Right.
Um, and then I moved back there when I was 17. But I feel like it's interesting. Like I have the African side is very like passionate and wild and expressive, and very
Mm.
grounding. And then there's this whole like Japanese side, which is, respects honor, attention to detail, more submissive. So I feel like I have these two extreme cultures that sort of like shoved into one person
Wow.
that sometimes like I'll see certain characteristics coming out in different situations, and it's like, yeah, it's interesting to see where that fits in. And I think
Mm.
I really respect the Japanese culture and their attention to detail and just wanting to be masters at what they do. It's a really, really beautiful part of their culture.
Wow. Has that culture inspired your music at all, or?
Yeah, so in the past, I mean, I was funnily singing when I was 17, when I first signed to my label. I was singing like J-pop music, so Japanese pop. So it was like 70% Japanese with
Wow.
like a "Hey baby, I love you" thrown in there, which was interesting. It was most definitely not what I think after being in that world for a couple of years, like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do. Like I grew up listening to soulful music from Stevie Wonder to Michael Jackson and like all of the jazz artists. I'm like, whoa, this is like not it. Um, so the pop music, not as much. Some of the traditional stuff is beautiful, but now I've kind of found a way in my music to be able to bring in African influences and some Japanese influences, with whether it's like traditional instruments that have been, put through a filter and sounds like something super modern and cool or electric,
Mm. Yeah.
or throwing in a couple of Japanese lyrics in there that people in the West are familiar with. So it's been cool to be able to hybrid the two to a
Yeah.
place that I feel represents me as a person and at the same time is relevant to pop culture.
So interesting. Fascinating. Wow. Um, so I'm curious now that you've been in New York for
Mm,
how many years? I mean, you've been here
like
for
6 years.
6 years. How has New
Yeah.
York influenced you
I
as
think
an
New
artist?
York, yeah, it's such a magical place. Like it was the place since when I was a kid, I'm like, I'm moving there, And I think being here and being surrounded by so many talented people, whether it's in the field of architect, fashion, design, whatever it is, music, it's people are just here. They're here with a dream and a vision for what they want for themselves. And I think everybody in the city understands what it feels like to move here with not much and
Mhm.
work your ass off to get
Yeah.
somewhere. And I think it's a city where honestly anything is possible. And I've experienced some incredible experiences here and miracles and magical moments where, like, you may be down in the dumps one day and then something incredible just switches it up 360. And it's just like, how the heck did that happen? And it's
Wow.
only in New York City. And you've got, other people that are so great at what they do that are open to being your mentors or encouraging you and pushing you in the right direction. And I think there's a strong sense of community here
Mm.
that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's really unique to this to here, to New York City.
Yeah, it's tight knit that way, isn't it? When you say like, oh, I'm from New
Totally.
York, it kind of is like this badge, like you wear,
I
like
know.
I'm from New York, I'm tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I think, like, the cliche, you make it here, you can make it anywhere. It's so true. It's like you go through some of the hardest things to get closer to your dream, and it just builds this resilience and
Mm.
this strength from within that it's like, hey, no, you can't mess with me, or hey, this is what I want to do and I'm going to keep doing it until I get there.
Absolutely. And I know you will.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about that. Your
Yeah.
dreams,
Mm,
your desires, and your biggest wishes.
yeah. um I mean, it's all in music. And I think, as I sort of mentioned before, having these very different cultures and having this background where I've sort of traveled the world just because of the circumstance, I really believe like I am a global person, a global artist. So it's been always a dream for me to keep working towards that and to be able to be in a global platform and share my music with people around the world and hopefully bring a sense of happiness and positivity to their life.
Yeah.
So we're working on some really exciting projects at the moment with some people that I've only ever dreamed of working with in the music business, and I feel like it's getting close to that point. So just working hard on writing music and and hopefully creating music that resonates with people.
It's beautiful. Tell us about the project that you're working on soon. I mean, it's an event
Yeah.
you're raising money for an organization for a cause. So tell us a bit about that.
Yes. Yeah. So this all came about a couple weeks ago. A really good friend of mine, Seth Rosenberg, whom I met in Israel when I was there performing for Forbes 30 Under 30 a couple years ago.
Mm.
And we connected a month ago, and he was like, why don't let's do something, like let's put on, let's, like, he's in the financial world, but he has this like gorgeous place, and he's like, it's empty, maybe we could do like a show or something, like a charity performance. And I was like, oh my god, I would love that. So we sort of put our heads together and researched what organizations are out there. And it was in the middle of all of the racial injustice with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and it was just so heartbreaking to see that, and to be in this pandemic within a pandemic. And
Yeah.
right around that time, um, I had just written this song called Off Black with my incredible producer and songwriter Alex Bilo, and we were thinking about, should we release it, like what's the release plan and whatnot. And I thought, what a great idea it would be to put on a show and have like the pre-release and have people come and donate money and buy tickets to for this night of music and elevation, but as well be the first handful of people to listen to the song. So our goal with finding the organization was to find someone that was really creating systematic, changing things systematically to end racial injustice. And we spoke to a bunch of different organizations, and we found that the Bail Project, who's doing incredible work combating um, like mass incarceration and making sure that freedom is free for all.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to go with them, and it was just like really eye-opening researching the type of work that they do and how much impact they were bringing to America.
Mm.
That yeah, we've decided to raise money for them. We're hoping to raise 10K within our friend group, and then 100K through foundations. So it's going to be on the 23rd of
July.
July. So it's around the corner.
Great.
It's going to be a socially distanced show. There's only going to be 20 tickets, so it's super, super limited. But it's going to be a really, really wonderful night, a night to remember.
And how does everyone, how do people donate? What is the call to action? What is the website?
So there is a GoFundMe page that's actually linked to my Instagram. So if you go to Katini Music, at Katini Music on Instagram,
Okay.
it will be in my bio. So would love, there'll be more information about the Bell Project on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, would love anybody who's passionate and willing to be able to make greater impact to end racial injustice, which I hope is everybody, to
Yes.
donate whatever you can. I know it's a pandemic and it's tough times financially for a lot of people, so
Yes.
any donation counts.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. I absolutely will. As everyone else should, listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube or however you're finding this content. But thank you so much, Katini. You are
Oh,
such a bright light, and I'm so
oh,
grateful for you and being on the show.
I'm grateful for you too. Thank you, Andre, for having me, and I missed you, and I hope that we can see each other in person
Oh,
soon.
we will. Absolutely. And I've missed you too. We will absolutely see each other in person.